Thanks for staying with us. So it's still the month we're celebrating women. So we had the International Women's Day, and then we had Mother's Day over the weekend. So we're still celebrating women. It's important that we find an opportunity to bring out women who are doing great things in their various careers. Today, our guest is a lawyer, corporate executive with 20 years post-call experience working in the fields of law and development across corporate organizations and non-profits in healthcare. She's passionate about the pursuit of the development in Africa and the role of women in enabling, making that happen. Welcome with us, Fabia Ogunmekan. Welcome to the show. Are you there?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, I am. Can you see me?
Yes, we can see you now.
Okay.
So, as I said, we're still celebrating women. We'd like you to give us your story. You know, your journey as a lawyer. Right now, you're the executive director of Whisker, and you're doing so much for women development. Tell us about your journey, how you got here, and what you hope to achieve in the near future.
So thank you very much, and thank you for the opportunity to be here, and happy International Women's Month now. So my name is Fabia Ogunmekan, and I am the Executive Director of Whisker. I like to describe myself as a lawyer, but working in development. I've been working in the space of law and development over the last almost 20 years, and I'm very passionate about women's empowerment. I'm passionate about women's human rights, and my work at Whisker essentially sees me driving the strategy in terms of promoting gender equity, gender parity, and gender inclusivity in the workplace. The workplace is essentially defined as anywhere, it could be the private sector, it could be the public sector, it could be the non-for-profit sector, it could be anywhere essentially where one has decided to sort of pitch their tent and contribute, to work life, essentially. And so the work that we do at Whisker is essentially promoting that and enabling women, giving women a platform to really thrive and to really rise through the career ladder. And I think that's essentially sort of sits well with what it is that I've always wanted to do. Without even knowing what development was, at the time, 20 years ago, I knew that I really wanted to work in an area that would enable me make impact, that would enable me make a difference, and I've worked, as a lawyer, working around the fields of human rights law. I've worked essentially in entrepreneurship, enabling, giving them a platform, to thrive and grow their businesses and connecting them access to markets. I've worked at the grassroots level, working with women, ensuring their access to healthcare through a community health insurance program that I was involved in some time ago. So I've worked across the field of healthcare, development, enterprise, and now leadership.
Great. All right, ma'am. May I ask what inspired you, or what inspired your choice to get into, human capacity building? What was that thing that motivated you into that?
So I think it's, for me, again, like I said, I've always been interested in gender. And without really knowing, human capacity building is now sort of where one finds themselves, building talent, encouraging, women, helping them build their capacity and all of that. But for me, my driving force has always been just seeing women do better, For me, it's never made sense that 50% of our world, in this world, forget what's happening in should I say, in the developed world, where now you can be a man, you can be a woman, and you can be all sorts of things in between. What we understand generally is that you are either a man or a woman, and this world consists, wherever it is, you will sort of pitch your tent, even with all the fluidity with gender, right? You can only present yourself as male or female, and that is what the world represents. So it makes no sense, and it's never made sense to me that 50%, are not given a voice. 50% are not allowed or enabled to participate fully in all that they can be and contribute to nation building.
Right.
Statistics show across the world that, you cannot fly on half an engine. It just does not make sense. And if we really want to move forward as a country, if we really want to be all that we can be as Nigeria, as this nation, then it makes not just economic sense, not just business sense, but it just makes human, even as a basic human rights, it makes human sense to enable all of us to work together.
Okay.
And I think that's where it comes from.
Right.
So, Fabia, we have, usually when we have women come on the show, I always try to look for, what are the similarities that we have? Because I find that when we see women who are successful and they've gotten to a certain point, there's almost a fear like, oh, these are a different species, they're so different from me. Could you tell me something about your background? Maybe a young girl watching could relate to and know that, oh, there's a possibility for me to someday, at least Fabia did it, and this was her background. Maybe it will work for me as well.
First of all, I don't even consider myself, I consider that I'm building a successful career. And I know that I still have another 30 or 40 years ahead of me by God's grace, still sort of, growing and learning. So I don't by any means, and I think that that's even one lesson I would say, I don't by any means consider that I have arrived in no way, shape or form. I feel that there's so much work to be done yet. And of course, even those who are ahead of me, the founder and chairperson of Whisker, for example, who is a good sort of 15 years ahead of me, is still working and is still, trying to do things both in her own personal life and in even moving this gender needle forward. So I think that, there's still so much to be done. So that's first.
She asked about your background.
Yes, in terms of my background. So I think one of the things that we can all connect with is I come from a line of, I would say, strong women, right? Strong women in the sense of, at that time, just breaking barriers without even meaning to do it. So subconsciously not even knowing that you were doing it. My grandmother, for example, was a nurse, but she also was one of the first women to go into the Nigerian army. So she was a nurse from a very young age. I think from about 18, she started her training as a nurse. And she grew, in that field to become the first principal of the Nigerian Army School of Nursing. Now, you can imagine a woman in those days, a nursing career. I believe she was even the first in her family to actually formally go to school. And this was after she had my mother. So she was a young mother. She was a single mother at 18. And, but, didn't let that stop her. She then went on to pursue a nursing career, joined the Nigerian Army, and rose to the ranks to be a teacher, not only a teacher, teaching other nurses and a matron, but also the first principal of the Nigerian Army School of Nursing. You can imagine having a grandmother with a military background, what that did for me as her first grandchild for quite a number of years before my younger sister.
Fantastic.
Okay, so I wanted to...
Again, my mother.
Her mother.
Yes.
Go ahead, please.
I think she's done. Ask it.
I would just say, it's just coming from a strong line. When I look at, I listen, at Whitmore we do a lot of capacity building sessions.
Okay, let me throw in one question in for you before you run off. Go ahead.
So I wanted to ask about non-profits. Many controversies are linked with non-profits. People feel that non-profit organizations are actually for-profit, and people sometimes feel these women groups are so over-empowering women to be so strong. Would you say exactly what is Whisker pushing to achieve? What's your platform pushing to achieve? What's your own goal?
Thank you very much. I was just going to round up that last point I was making about just that power, and I think it segues into this what it is you just asked me. The power of understanding where you come from, and how that sort of propels you forward. So the importance of having all these women and sort of without, over celebrating our mothers and all those, sometimes we take them for granted, but knowing just that support and the power of women, like in shaping who we eventually become. And that's exactly what Whisker is about. So I would say the distinguishing factors, Whisker is a non-for-profit organization. We're a for-impact organization, so we're not focused on profit making. But that doesn't mean we do not look to make profit through the trainings that we offer, but we channel that as a not-for-profit back into the organization to continue to grow our capacity and to continue to be able to give back and do the programs, the impactful programs that we do. And what I would say stands us out is our focus on mentorship. So many organizations provide and doing great work and provide support for women in different ways. Not only do we provide a network, we also provide mentorship, and we provide structured mentorship because you can access mentorship in so many different ways, right? It can be formal, it could be about having a role model that you read about and then sort of trying to structure your trajectory along that person's line. But at Whisker, what we do is we purposefully match you to a woman who you have identified as somebody, who you would like to be paired with, or somebody whose career sort of matches where you hope to go. Now, no one's journey, no two journeys are the same. Right. But having structured mentorship in that way, we find helps to actually guide, shape, nurture, support, and help to even sponsor you as a woman as you go forward. And of course, we have all the various capacity building trainings.
Okay, let me get a little final question for you. Go ahead.
Okay, Fabia, I know you're married and you are raising 3 children. I want you to give a tip to a woman out there who is afraid to pursue her dreams because she doesn't want the home front to suffer. How were you able to do it, and what are some of the things that she can adopt?
Thank you. Great question. So, I've been married, so I consider myself, again, still, well, young for some people in the game, and perhaps farther gone for some people as well in the game. So I've been married for 12 years now. And I would say, look, and I've been working throughout before I got married, and I've still continued to work. And in fact, I think I do work more now. I would just say to women, look, it's very important from the very beginning to be careful and choose carefully, Yes, we may not necessarily be the ones that go out and ask men to marry us, but in that courtship process, it's very important to know who you are marrying. I think that sets the scene, first of all. And, you've got to ask for support. Nobody's an island. Your spouse requires support. You require support. So you've got to ensure that you have that support. You have your marriage is a supportive environment. And, we do not marry alone. We don't just marry the man. We marry the family. We marry his family. He marries into our family. So we have a body of people we should call on. I think the greatest mistake that women make is trying to juggle it all at the same time. There will be different points in your career. Sometimes you may need to step a couple of things down to be able to face that particular part of your life that you are in. So if it's child raising, if you need to take some time out even of the work system, that's what we're also advocating at Whisker. Flexi work, remote working, and all the different things now that COVID has shown us.
We love flexi work.
So I would say network, support system, is very important. Having open communication with your husband, letting him know, what are your aspirations, what are your ambitions, and hopefully he's there to support you along the way. This is 2021, really. So
thank you so much, Fabia. Thank you so much. We love speaking to women who have achieved something in life, so to encourage others that listen, it's doable. You're not alone in the struggle, and that there's a support system of women who are going through exactly what you're going through, and you can always reach out for help. Thank you so much. We'll be speaking with the Executive Director for Whisker. Oh, yeah, go ahead. You want to say one thing?
So we have, obviously, this is Women's Month, and there's so many activities going on. So we have an event tomorrow. We're partnering with the United Nations Women Nigeria to have an intergenerational conversation around women in the private sector. So you can follow Whisker on our social media pages. We're at WhiskerNG on Instagram, and you can find the link. It's a fantastic conversations that will be had. We've got moguls like Ibukun Awoshika, Funke Okweke, CEO of Main One, who's really risen through the ranks, and of course other young women who are doing great things. So it's definitely a conversation that I think people should join. So please check out our page at WhiskerNG on Instagram.
All right. Thank you very much. Say your market. All right. All right, that's all we can take on the show. Thank you, ladies. It's always a pleasure having you. Let's go. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye for now.